So, but I found out you're a Catholic, but that didn't phase me. And then, I said I'm a non-denominational. So growing up, basically, you're told to hate Catholics. Like this is the bottom line. Like Catholics are bad people, because that's non-denominational theology. But for some reason, it just didn't phase me because of how knowledgeable you were about the Bible. Um, and so I just remember one night I was just like, I really was convinced. I was just like, God, like you've led me to learning about this, about learning about you through this Catholic man. What he's teaching must be right. Like I'm filled with the Spirit. You're filled with the Spirit, and so I'm like God can't be wrong. And so I just did it one night. I prayed to I spoke to Mary. I was just like, Mary, like if you're, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I was kind of just like, I don't know. I can't tell you what I said, but I do remember I was just praying to her. Um, and then I woke. I remember I woke up in the morning. I was half asleep though, and I just remember saying out loud, "I'm like, yes, Mary, I hear you."
Wow.
But I was half asleep, and I said that, and I was kind of just okay. I was kind of just like okay. I didn't really think anything of it. Um, and I'll be honest, it's been an up and down 2 years for me.
For all of us.
Yeah, I was in California by myself for like the past 2 years. And so it was just my walk with God was very isolated, but I understand why he did that for me because of, the calling he has on my life. And growing up non-denominational to now, I say this full of faith, about to become a Catholic. That takes a lot of, faith. My dad's a pastor. And so now the roadblock I'm at in my life is sitting in front of my family and telling them this is what the Lord is telling me to do. And you guys have no say in it. Like you can't, because of the research I've done, because of what the Spirit has, like I truly believe. And I remember you were saying this, you brought this up with one of your in one of your debates with a Mormon, I believe, when you were saying that the Spirit appointed people, because Peter tells us that, or Paul tells Timothy that the Spirit is going to appoint people to keep the church going. And you told him, you asked him a question, you were like, can God fail? Can the Spirit fail?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been leaning on, is like, can God fail in leaning me
To the Catholic
towards
Church, yeah.
right, towards the faith? And
So
then
where are you at now?
right now it's I actually went to my first mass on Thursday.
You know why I ask you where do you want now? Because I
Mhm.
blocked Batman Incorporated.
Yeah,
Frank James was a regular because they're impatient.
right.
Because they're not waiting patiently for from to hear your testimony that your prayers are being heard, because now you just told everyone you just went to your first what?
My first mass.
And when did you go to your first mass?
This was Thursday.
You got it. So if Frank, my regular friend who's regular here, was a little patient,
Hmm.
and then Batman Incorporated wasn't too excited because he's looking for a Joker,
Hmm.
because he's a Joker, they would hear you're glorifying Christ, that you come from a family, your dad is a pastor, right?
Hmm.
Though your father is a Protestant pastor, you felt convicted that the Catholic Church may be true. You took a step of faith, prayed, you asked Mary, and then you heard yourself wake up saying, I hear you, Mary. That means she was talking to you while you're asleep. And as a sign that she was talking to you, you got up saying, I hear you. And now your journey brought you into the Catholic Church. You took a mass, which means there's going to be a severe backlash because your father is a Protestant pastor, but you're willing to suffer and lose your family for what you believe to be the truth. See, if
Right.
people were patient, they would have heard your story, right?
Yep. And that's what I'm struggling with right now, is just that patience. Like it's not, who are we to rush God and his timing?
Yeah, be patient. But
Right.
you're already there. You're in mass, you're in church. Now, what you're going to do is you're not going to go and preach fire and brimstone to your Protestant family and alienate them and
Uh-huh.
demonize their tradition and be rude and mean. No, you're not qualified. Number two, if you become nasty towards them, you're going to harden their hearts against the Catholic Church.
Hmm.
You get it?
Yeah, and that's my problem, is I want to go and sit down and be like, you guys
You're
have
not
no
ready.
idea what you're talking about. You don't know church history. You're
No,
scared to. Yeah, that's my
you're
problem.
not ready yet to do that. You need to
Right.
be grounded and strengthened and mature, that you know you're going to stay faithful, not turn away. Because imagine you tell them you need to be Catholic and then you fall away and leave the Catholic Church. then that's going to make you look bad. And secondly, your family don't want to hear from someone of their own, because your pastor can say, "You're going to tell me about the Bible? I'm your
Mhm.
dad, dude. I'm a pastor. I know the Bible even before you were born." It's going to offend him.
Uh-huh.
So that's not the approach. What you do is you win them by praying for them, fasting for them, and loving them by your deeds. Let them see the change in you. They go, "Wow,
Mhm.
what happened to you, son? When you were Protestant, you weren't like this." Earn
Right.
the right. Okay, so that's what you do. Now, with that said, you have any questions I can help you with?
Um, I would say this is where I'm at right now is because of in the non-denominational church, it's so dopamine based. Everything is just this rush. It's like this feeling. It's like you're always chasing that spiritual high because
Exactly.
when the spirit comes over you, when you're in worship or when you're, hearing a sermon, like that feeling is so undescribable. You could get so attached to it that you start looking for it in every single,
It
like
becomes like, yeah, yeah,
every
yeah.
place. Exactly. And it becomes like an addiction, but that's not something that is attainable every second of your life. And so when I was sitting in mass, I had to stop myself from looking for the goosebumps, because
Yep.
the sing like the hymns are so much different than the worship from typical evangelical church. But I love that, like, for some reason I've been I've been really into like chants and stuff like that, and like like that type of music. I really like, I'm soft at heart, and so I don't
Good man.
it's like I don't really the loud music and all the rock,
And I
like
love,
that's
man, bro. Hey, bro, we're about to do a documentary on your life and write a biography. What's the question, brother?
yeah. So I mean, I guess it would be, how do I stop myself from looking for this, like, this feeling, and like almost making God out to be the who I want him to be, and instead of letting him be who he needs to be, if that makes any sense. Trying to
No,
articulate myself.
stop doing what though? Because you were telling me how, yeah, it's all about dopamine and the experience, and I like the chanting. But okay, so what exactly do you want to stop? What are you trying to stop? Because you said, yeah, in the these non-denominational, it's experience and feeling. It's like dopamine. So you see, it's wrong. So what are you trying to stop though? I don't get it. I still didn't get
Ch-
what you
Chasing the feeling.
because the Bible says Christianity is like running a race,
Mm-hmm.
training for the military, training for a boxing match. Once you readjust your thinking, does it always feel good and joyful to get up off the couch and get to the gym and do your cardio and weight training? Look at me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go. Does it always feel good?
No, not at all.
Does it always feel good when you have to count calories and you can't just eat what you want and you have to exercise restraint?
No.
And yet, if you give in to your feelings, you're going to stop working out and stop eating right. And then what happens to your health?
Goes, you backslide.
What happens to your health?
Oh, it deteriorates.
So you become slob, you become fat and obese, and then in the long run, and then you feel worse because you feel sick.
Mm-hmm.
So if I know that I need to discipline myself physically so I can get healthier, skinnier, so that I can now have more energy and my weight won't be a burden that weighs me down and I can't move and I can't run. And now that I'm healthier, my heart is now more fit and my body is less prone to getting diseased or illnesses. All because I made that sacrifice to discipline myself, to get to the gym, to do my cardio, hit my weights, and eat right. How much more when it comes to spiritual matters?
Right. Especially since the
Because the
devil.
Bible says it
Mm-hmm.
is discipline, it's exercise, it's military training for the military.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is.
Right.
So that's what it is. That's your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline, discipline, discipline.